If you have to call yourself an alpha, you aren't one. Influence is earned, not announced. Welcome to The Bear Perspective. I'm Bear Malik. I'm a student of life and I study psychology. I want to share with you some lessons and perspectives that I wish I could have learned a lot sooner in life. So if you must proclaim yourself being an alpha, you announce it. You're not authority, but need. Influence is earned. It's not declared. Respect is conferred, not extracted from someone. So today I want to examine the origins of this alpha idea. It's seductive power, or its seductive promise. It's incredibly corrosive distortions and the human alternative. I want to forego the costume of the beast and shoulder this responsibility of being a person. So where did the idea come from? The alpha trope entered this popular consciousness, the zeitgeist, by way of zoology, not psychology. Super early observations of captive wolves in, I think it was like the mid-20th century. It was Rudolf Schinkel's, I think, or Schinkel. Rudolf Schinkel's work in 1947 described these incessant conflicts amongst these wolves. Unrelated animal forced themselves into proximity of each other, especially in captivity. So it became essentially a lab of constant and permanent tension. So eventually this hierarchy emerged. Now, bear in mind, this is specifically only in captivity. And the most assertive of these wolves was labeled the alpha. The term migrated from ethology into human culture, and so often, as it happens, the metaphor hardened into this dogma that we have right now. But once field methods in zoology improved, a completely different picture genuinely appeared. By the 90s, one of the scientists, David Mech, I think, who had helped popularize this whole alpha idea, published some work emphasizing that wild wolf packs are typically family units, not this alpha structure that we'd come accustomed to. And they're generally organized around the breeding pair. And the alpha, in that context, is really a misnomer. It's closer to mother and father than as it is the alpha and the beta, or the alpha and the omega. So David Mech spent years attempting to retire every label that he had helped to put in place. So the point is not zoological pedantry. It's a conceptual hygiene. We misapprehended the wolves and then projected that misunderstanding onto us, onto men. Now, even across non-human primates, for example, dominance is neither singular nor uniform. Different species exhibit different logics of leadership. You've got correlations, you've got maternal lines, you've got negotiated influences. In other words, even the animals are not reliably alpha. in the crude and most cinematic of senses. How much less fitting then to impose a single animal archetype on human beings who are capable of foresight, norm creation, and moral reflection. So why does this archetype or this trope of an alpha seduce us as people? Why then does this alpha badge attract otherwise intelligent people? Because it offers a mythology of certainty in a world of genuine ambiguity. It promises status without service, and it's going to promise belonging without any form of sacrifice, and the identity without the painstaking labor of characteristics that need to be built upon. It's the shortcut of the persona. To use Carl Jung's term, a public mask that signals strength while evading the ordeal of becoming strong. Now it whispers that one can dominate chaos by posture alone, as though confidence were competence and volume was virtue. Now, what does psychology actually show? Human status, however, typically follows two paths. One is dominance, coercion, intimidation, and the manufacture of fear. The other is prestige, deference freely granted to those who are competent, reliable, and pro-social. Joseph Heinrich and Francisco Gil-White articulated prestige in 2001 as esteem conferred on skill bearers who teach and contribute. Joey Chang and Jessica Tracy's empirical work distinguishes these routes clearly. Dominance can seize attention rapidly. Prestige sustains authority because it rests upon values rather than threat. In families, teams, and communities, the prestige pathway, competence plus contribution, that is, tends to yield sturdier and less brittle leadership. Presence, then, is not an act of self-naming. It's a verdict rendered by the other people over a course of time. You don't compel it, you cultivate it. You do not declare it, you deserve it. So where does this alpha culture fall down? Here's where the toxicity appears. The performative alpha stance rewards contempt over curiosity and posturing over growth. It pathologizes empathy, the very faculty that coordinates social life itself, and it confuses fear with respect. It confuses submission with loyalty. Now, it also offers a biological alibi for moral failure. You've probably heard, "I'm a predator," as if that's absolved someone from the higher obligations of speech, of confidence, of reciprocity. Now, Carl Jung would warn that what is not integrated in the psyche is projected onto the world. The unexamined shadow, our capacity for aggression, lies, deceit, and cruelty, now, doesn't disappear when denied. It leaks into performance. The louder this costume is, the thinner the character beneath it. So, to brandish alpha is often a strong signal to the very insecurity one hopes to conceal and hide from the world. Now, if you must say it, you aren't it. If you have to declare yourself an alpha, you're not an alpha. Consider what is confessed when a man announces his dominance. He betrays a fear that his actions, taken alone, would not suffice. He demands in language what he has not secured in his own behavior. And he mistakes intimidation for integrity. Genuine, real authority cannot be taken by slogans or by words. It accumulates through responsibility and competence that you can demonstrate. Now, what's this human alternative? What commands presence amongst humans? It's not the snarl of an animal, it's not baring teeth like a dog, but it's the discipline, integration of a person. It looks like quiet mastery, turning up, being prepared, telling the truth, being precise, making and keeping promises. It looks like a skill honed until others start seeking you out, and generosity enough to teach what you know. It looks like moral courage, the capacity to hold a line without hatred, to be able to set boundaries without theatre or without any theatrics. It looks like service, choosing the good of the group, of the team, of the family, in a way that raises the standards for everyone. The rising tide rises all ships. That is the prestige pathway. That's the pathway the research describes, and it's slow because it's real. Most things in life are hard. Most things in life take time to build a solid foundation to work from. And this is also the Carl Jung's, or the Jungian task, to bring the shadow into conscious relationship. You're not going to repress your aggression, and you're not going to fall back on cowardice, but you're not going to romanticize it into being a brutal being. You're going to harness it. You're going to give it the strength to become the conscious. Now, Jordan Peterson, I've brought him up many times before. He'd probably put it like this: become formidable, then discipline that strength in the service of the good. A harmless man is not virtuous. A capable man who governs himself can be trusted. So don't aspire to be an animal. Aspire to be a human. Tragically limited, yes, but uniquely capable of amendment and sacrifice. If you desire presence, earn it. Don't announce it. If you desire respect, build respect. Don't demand it. Drop this mask, drop the costume, build the character. Your influence isn't a roar. Your influence is a reputation. For the Wolf Scholarship, you can see David Meck's discussion from 1999 of wild pack structure and his subsequent public clarifications that contrast with Rudolf Schenkel's Rudolf Schenkel's The Captive Wolf Observations of 1947. That's what seeded this alpha label. For human status, I would say go with Heinrich and Gil White from 2001. On prestige and with the Cheng and Tracy's experimental work, differentiation, dominance, and prestige. The broad primate literature makes clear that alpha is not a universal template, even among animals. The moral thrust here, however, is not merely empirical, it's anthropological and ethical. We are the creatures who can see our future as possibility and bind ourselves to better conduct. We know we could end up in jail if we harm our neighbor. We know if we do not make our car payments, our car will be seized from us. In turn, we will not be able to get to work, we will not be able to put food on our table, and we will wither and die. We can make those logical steps and assumptions about the future. Animals can't. So if you do have to call yourself an alpha, you've already told the world what you lack. You're better off becoming competent. You're better off telling the truth. You're better off carrying your strength quietly and taking responsibility for what is in your care. And that is how presence accumulates, and that's how respect is earned. Don't be the beast. Be the person.